Tonight we are looking at the Australian sci-fi series Ocean Girl, also known as Ocean Odyssey in the United Kingdom. The show follows an unusual girl called Neri who originally lives by herself on an island. She then develops relationships with inhabitants of an underwater research facility called Orca. The show lasted for a whopping 4 series and 78 episodes and aired from 1994. Mozena Gadecki plays the title role as we meet many characters throughout the show. So now that we have the background, let's take a look at a couple of episodes. First up we have the girl in the sea. So we head towards the island as we see the jungle, we see the wildlife as we then see Neri walk through the water as she then drinks some, she gets some food as she climbs the tree, she then spots a helicopter as we see a bunch of people fly towards the island as the mother says no one lives on the island, the brothers are impressed with the island as Neri watches on. So we get to the research facility as the helicopter lands, the family gets off as the older son Jason is not impressed with the place as he wants to get off. Mom isn't happy as someone then comes out and greets them. Winston is the assistant on Orca as he grabs the bags and shows the way. He talks to Jason about some Japanese saying as Jason is confused. So they head inside the facility as Brett is impressed with the place. He looks around as some kids run around. Brett keeps walking around as his mother then says he could get lost. Winston then shows off Helen the master computer as the computer shows where they are based. Winston then meets Lucas as he is in charge. They greet the mother as Lucas says her kids better behave as Jason is not happy with Lucas. Winston shows off more of the facility as Brett spots a scuba diver. Diane is telling Jason the stay is only for 6 months as she says people could be living underwater in bases like these in the future. Yeah, okay. Brett is confused as there are no buttons on the lift as Winston uses his voice to control the lift. Winston continues to show the way to their room as the Bates enter their new home. Mom isn't happy with the space as someone then chimes in as he asks Winston for something. He is confused as Jason gets wet from the shower. Brett shows off as Mom says the kids need to put on their uniforms. Jason isn't happy as they then do it in the next shot. Mom says they need to do some exploring as Brett agrees as Jason isn't happy. So Winston goes to talk to him as Jason explains he wasn't given a choice on coming here. Winston says there is much to learn about the sea as we then see some fish. We then see Neri swim around as she jumps out and shows off. So she walks towards the island as she then climbs a tree and eats some food. So back at Orca, kids are getting their food as Brett makes some new friends. The girl asks if Brett will get in trouble as she then invites Brett to the table. Jason makes some new friends as well as they talk about whales. Some girl greets them as they explain she is the captain's daughter. So we see some darts action as Winston is teaching Jason where to shoot the whale to help their experiments or something. Mom then comes in as she talks more about the whale. Some radar goes off as they spot the whale on the thing as we then see the whale swim around. So Neri is getting some coconuts as the whale enjoys herself as Neri then jumps off the tree and jumps into the water to join the whale. So we see the moon as it is then night time. We see Neri looking up at the stars as back at Orca Brett wants to see a whale as Mom allows him to help Winston. Winston is still looking at the radar as they get ready for the mission but Lucas comes in and is angry with them letting Jason use the gun thing. Jason shows off as Lucas changes his mind. Mom says they have a whale to tag as we see more of the whale. We then see a ship as the gang are on board. Jason gets the gun as Brett wants to join in but Mom says no. So Jason goes off as he prepares to shoot the whale. Winston spots the whale as Jason gets ready, but the whale gets scared as Neri goes for another swim. She hears the whale's call as she goes to help the whale. The gang chase the whale as Neri goes into the sea. She goes to save the whale as Winston tells Jason to load up and stand by. The whale gets more and more scared as the gang try to get the whale tagged. Jason gets ready to shoot as he then spots Neri in the water as she tells him no. The gang can't believe Jason as he doesn't shoot. Mom takes over as she shoots the whale. She asks what Jason's problem is as he explains there was a girl in the ocean. Mom doesn't believe him as Mom says they're going back to Orca as Jason tries to defend himself. They head back as Neri comes out of the water. She goes back in as back at Orca. Winston is trying to work something as they then get the radar working again. They see the whale as Mom tells Jason off. Jason explains there was a girl as Mom still doesn't believe him. Mom storms off as Winston says another silly saying as Jason is confused. He walks off as in bed. Brett says Jason has gone crazy as Jason says he is going to prove it as we then see Neri once more as the episode ends on that note. Next up we have set adrift. So at Orca Brett is saying Mom is still mad at Jason as Jason keeps saying there was a girl who swam like a fish as Brett mocks Jason. Brett heads off as we then see Neri wake up. She swings from the tree as she goes to get some more food. Jason tells Brett not to tell anyone else as they will bully him as in the next shot we see everyone pick on Jason. Someone then comes in and shouts as she tells everyone off. Jason says he is going to get Brett as he then opens his laptop to see a mermaid. So the teacher says she wants to introduce someone, so we meet Vanessa as the teacher wants her card or something as Vanessa isn't happy with the rest of the class as the teacher tells Vanessa to be partners with Jason as we see Vanessa is very smart. So Brett says something stupid as Vanessa is in the shower. Someone knocks on the door as Vanessa comes out. It is the kids messing around as Vanessa is embarrassed. The kids laugh away as Vanessa isn't happy as she talks to some other girl. So the kids are getting their food as Vanessa then asks where Brett is as she says they're going to pay on what they did. One of the kids snitches where Brett is as Brett is on a ship. Vanessa unties the ship as it goes away. Vanessa is being mean to Brett as she then walks off. So Brett is left on the ship as he tries to work it. It goes off like Kit of the Water as Brett needs help. So we then see some equipment as we then hear the whale as Winston and Diane are talking about the whale. Jason then calls in as he says he is going off to the rec room as Winston then spots something strange on the radar as Mom is confused. Winston says it could be something else. It is then revealed to be Neri as she is looking after the whale. She spots the tag as she tries to take it off. So Lucas is storming around as he spots a kid messing around. He tells him off as Helen then butts in and mentions a weather alert as there is a storm coming as Lucas comes up with a plan. So Brett is still out on the water as it then suddenly stops. Brett tries to get it going again as he then picks up a radio signal. He talks to himself as Neri is walking back to the island. She then hears something as we then see Jason ask about Brett as they don't know where he is. Vanessa tells Jason where Brett is as Jason runs off. So the adults are talking about the missing boat and the kid as Diane says they have to do something because it is her son out there. Lucas says he is doing all they can as he says the radio isn't working on that boat as Brett is left stranded. He then gets shocked by the ship as he goes flying. He puts on a life jacket as the weather picks up. So it is raining a lot as Neri hides from the rain. Diane asks Lucas to do more as Lucas explains everything. Someone says it is too dangerous out there as Diane is annoyed with Lucas. She says she will go herself as Lucas says she can't do that. Lucas says they will do everything they can tomorrow as Diane tries to pull on Lucas' heartstrings as Diane then walks off. So Brett is struggling on the ship as he cries for help. So the next day the boat arrives to the island as Brett gets up and explores the island. He shouts for help as he walks into the jungle. So he hears some birds as he walks through some water. He finds some food as he eats up. He starts acting strange as Neri then comes back to the island and is confused by the boat. She follows the footprints as she finds Brett as she says he ate bad berries. So she goes to treat Brett as Brett then wakes up as Neri says he will die if he doesn't drink up. Neri says if she is away from water too long she becomes sick. Brett is confused as Neri heads back into the water. Neri keeps looking after Brett as back at Orca Winston is saying there is no sign of Brett as all the kids watch on. Vanessa gets mad at one of the other kids as Winston gives a false alarm. He spots a whale as the whale cries for help, so Neri hears the cry as she rushes off. She wakes up Brett as Brett is confused on what is happening. Neri takes Brett back to the ship as she tells him to keep her a secret as she pushes the boat back into the water. Winston then finds Brett as everyone is happy. They transport Brett to the other ship as he talks about Neri. Everyone is confused as he says it is all a dream. So Neri watches on as she then goes away. Jason talks to Brett as he talks about the girl in the ocean as Jason asks about the island. They say they have to keep it quiet as Neri is then relaxing as the episode then ends on that note. Finally we have skipped a few episodes as we take a look at human tears. So at Orca everyone is shouting as Brett is having a birthday party as he swings for the pinata. Vanessa is annoyed as Brett breaks open the pinata. Everyone screams for the sweets as Mom comes in and embarrasses Brett. She suggests eating as everyone is happy. Someone calls for Diane as she goes off as Jason asks if anything came from Dad. Jason heads over to Brett as he says it is a great party as we then see Neri as she is swimming around once more with the whale. So Lucas is talking about how he is out of money because Diane has overspent on equipment. Lucas says they are only meant to be tracking one whale as Diane tries to defend herself. Winston joins in as they explain what they saw on the radar. Lucas denies to help as someone comes in with some cake. She runs off as Diane then demands the equipment. Lucas denies them once again as Diane is annoyed with Lucas. Winston says they can try again by buttering Lucas up. So the kids are eating up the cake as Brett then heads to bed with a stomachache. Brett says it was a great party as Jason gives Brett a drink. So Vanessa asks about Brett as she jokes about their dad not getting them a present as Jason tells her to stick her nose out of his business. Winston is still trying to get Lucas on board as Winston suggests a truce. Lucas agrees to that idea as Winston is happy. So Jason comes out of Orca as he gets onto a boat. Vanessa follows him as she spots him speeding off. So Brett and his friends are talking about why his dad didn't get him anything as they say Brett could get a new dad one day as Brett is shocked by his friends. So Neri is showing off to Jason as Neri asks about Jason's mom. Jason explains his family life as Jason then talks about his dad. He explains how dad got angry with mom and how mom ended up crying. Jason gets emotional as Neri touches a tear. So back at Orca, Winston is still talking about the whale as he says he needs to find out the answers that remain a mystery. Lucas comes in and asks to talk to Diane as Diane goes out to talk to him. Lucas says sorry to Diane as Diane also says sorry as Lucas says they should be a team as he then agrees to buy the equipment. Brett watches Lucas ask Diane out on a date. Brett can't believe it as he then tells Jason in bed. He talks about Lucas as a stepfather as he then grabs some food and talks to his friends. So Vanessa then talks to her friend about Jason and how he goes out to fish a lot but doesn't bring back many fish as Vanessa says she will find out the truth as some kids run into Lucas. He says he is being nice to Diane as Winston says to stop being her boss and start being her friend. Lucas agrees to listen as he asks Helen to do something. Helen picks Brett as Diane explains Brett can spend the afternoon on the bridge with Lucas as Brett says he wants to spend time with Jason. Diane tells Brett to go to the bridge as Brett says Lucas is trying to butter up Diane by being nice to him as he says to his friends he will sort it out as in the bridge Brett is messing around as Lucas gets annoyed with him. Lucas then shows off the controls as Brett says Diane misses her garlic as he lies to Lucas. They walk around as Lucas lies some more. So Brett walks in as he greets his mom as Winston asks what is wrong with Lucas. He says nothing is wrong as he goes back to the bridge. Everyone is confused as the boat goes out as Neri is underneath. Jason and Neri enjoy each other's company as Neri then hears a whale. Neri grabs Jason as she says there is a shark as they panic. Neri points out the shark as Jason is confused on how she knew it was coming. Jason asks who Neri really is as Neri says she will reveal all as she explains everything she remembers about herself as we then see a flashback to a young Neri and her father. She explains she had to do a lot for her dad as she says the days were hot and she nearly died. She falls into the water as the whale saved her. She then explains how her dad got very ill and died. Neri continues to explain her backstory as Jason is stunned by her confession as he asks why she trusts him and Brett. Jason asks more questions as back at Orca Lucas comes in with the letter that approves her equipment purchases. But Lucas has only brought one item as mom is annoyed as she says she needs both to do different jobs. Lucas and Diane get into a fight as Diane tells Winston she can't deal with Lucas anymore as Brett celebrates. So Jason is talking about Neri and how animals can get into her head as Brett is shocked as he suggests telling Lucas but Jason says no. Neri relaxes in some water as the episode then ends. In conclusion, Ocean Girl was a very good show. Even though we just watched the first few episodes and the drama was only beginning, you could tell this story was going to go places as you wonder who and what Neri is as the truth is slowly uncovered throughout the show. The premise of the show was very unique and all the characters were great and different. I really like Neri and Jason's friendship and you could tell they got each other. So overall this is a must-watch if you love science fiction and drama-filled shows as this one definitely delivers. So thank you for watching. If you have any TV shows you like to see me do, put them in the comments.